Hello, everyone. My name is Jill Mott of Henry & Son. Thank you for tuning in to the latest edition of tasting, almost a virtual class, if you will, on a producer that I find very near and dear, not only because the wines are vintage after vintage, incredible, delicious, very vivid depictions of where they're from, but just his effort to support art in a way that is not really done in California, but the greater world of wine in the way that he's doing it. So I want to talk about Scott Schultz from Jolie-Laide Winery out of Sebastopol in California. Scott, his story isn't dissimilar to a lot of winemakers' stories where they start in restaurants. Scott worked, as far as I know, back and front of the house. He's worked as a busboy, as a dishwasher, and all the way up to wine director in some very fine establishments, including some Thomas Keller restaurants, both I think in Vegas and in California. But Scott he loves art and he loves music. And when we think of the word or the words Jolie-Laide, it means the beautiful ugly. And what I take that to mean, it's oxymoronic, of course, but we think of, anybody could say, they could think of the typical male or female like model and what we consider beauty these days. And even in nature, what we consider beauty these days. And this is sort of the taking something that isn't quite perfect and finding the beauty in it, and realizing that even if you're willing to look, you can find beauty in places you never knew before. That's how I take it to mean. And when I'm tasting his wines, the first time I taste, like I saw this label, for example, which I've been familiar with his wines. He first started making them in 2010, and he had staged with people like being an assistant, a cellar master, a cellar rat, in producers here at Henry & Son that we love. Brock Cellars, Arno Roberts, Rhyme, Edmonds, St. John, Stephen Edmonds. We don't have his wines because they're not in our market, but all these producers that we love to support here that are making wines in a very like pure, natural, honest vein. And he started to make wines in 2010, and when he started making wines, I started following a couple vintages after that. So this is the 2016 Syrah it's $34.99 at Henry & Son. We don't have a lot of it. It's gorgeous. So the way that Scott makes wines, which, I'll mention, this is as much, of course, about his wines as it is about his integrity to showcase local artists. He's doing, all sustainable fruit, non-inoculated wine, so it's all a spontaneous ferment from either the vineyard or a pied de cuve or something like that. So he's not adding packeted yeasts. The wines are low to no sulfur additions. As far as I know, they're all unfiltered. And if they go through malolactic conversion, they're doing that naturally. This is a Syrah that normally you would smell something like this and you would go to the birthplace of Syrah. You'd go to the Northern Rhone. And instead of paying $34.99, you'd pay $75 for it. And here you're getting from, in the southern part of Mendocino, you're getting like these beautiful essences of like, it tastes sun-kissed like California, but we're not even chiming in at 13% alcohol here. So this is like old school California and French weight in terms of like it's medium body, not necessarily super heavy, but you're getting like black and red currants and jerky and like turkey jerky and bacon. You're like it's very savory, herbaceous, but gorgeous wine that you can't look at this label and even guess what's in the bottle, right? Once you know Scott's MO in the cellar and you taste his wines, man, I'm going to get this great quality juice that's not huge, bombastic, new oak or anything, but just showcasing an artist based out of London. Freaking great. This wine that I'm going to taste with you today is from a really cool artist, Rosa Giron, or Giron it looks like. And Rosa was born in 1991, and she was born in California, I believe San Leandro. She's been part of working in the Creative Growth Art Center since, I want to say, for about the last 4 years, making art inspired by her family that supported her. So a lot of the drawings, a lot of the names that you see on various other artworks. This is, I think, the only one that she has that is on a wine label, which is really cool. But uh, is inspired by her family, which is awesome. And what Scott has decided to do is put this on his bottle of almost like a Jura inspired blend with a California twist. So here Scott has done Trousseau. He's done a little bit of Poulsard. He's put some Gamay in here, and then some Old Vine Valdiguet from all over California, and made, when you look at it, it just screams drink me. It doesn't look too dark, very classic kind of what Jura wine should look like, very kind of light in color, just maybe with a little bit of like this brickish hue. And on the nose, it's just so pretty. It's got like these bruised flower tones to it, very clean. It's not too, like sometimes natty wine gets very volatile, it can get some off aromas. This is just very straightforward in that way. A little bit of birch bark, perhaps, and just the smallest amount of like old oak. He makes this wine with some carbonic maceration, which gives it's a technique I won't get too into depth with here, but it lowers the acidity and lowers the tannin on some grapes that can normally be pretty ragey in acidity, like Gamay, like Poulsard, and Trousseau. But it also heightens aromas, so you get like you're walking through a forest that's just laden with red berries in the nose. And just a joy to drink. I mean, I could put back a couple glasses of this easy with or without food, but with food it would do great with like whiter meats on the grill. Of course, veg on the grill would be great too. Pastas with some tomato sauce that's not doesn't have too much Parmesan or too many things going on. Just a very simple pasta, maybe even like a hemp pasta with some earthiness would be beautiful here too. So great stuff, cool label. You'd never know what to expect by looking at that label, but it will put you in a place and make you ask more questions, which I love that he's doing. Lastly, I wanted to speak of a wine I had most recently, not including this one, of course. I for the first time during this pandemic, I ordered food out, and I got food from Young Joni, and I wanted wine to pair with it before people were selling wine, and I elected this. It's his Valdiguet Rosé 2019. It's one of the first domestic rosés from the new vintage last year, 2019, that's come in. It's all from a single vineyard called Redwood Vineyard, and between myself and one other person, this was gone in an hour and 10 minutes, and I'm being generous. It is so lip-smacking. It is so gorgeous. It's done there's some neutral oak, but all that, it's not oaky at all. All it does is it kind of shaves a little bit of the edge off of, otherwise, wines rosés can be like really crisp and almost too crisp when they're brand new. And so this just makes it like it drinks so well. Low sulfur regimen, of course. And what attracted me to this at first when I see it, of course, the new Jolie-Laide wines are always like, who's the artist? What's with the label? So this is an artist called Kate Scott, and she is very inspired. A lot of her work, you see great use of light. And so she's been really interested in, I should say her work is inspired by, like, when you think of the light that you see in a Rembrandt photo. Here, Kate Scott she puts it on a scanner of sorts, these different flowers, and then digitally paints them pixel by pixel, so they reveal things to us online or in the actual image or on a label, things that the human eye would not capture if they were just looking at the flower 4 feet in front of them. And what's gorgeous about this is it's very apt to what's in the bottle, right? So we have, this is called Blushes. She calls this Blushes. After, and it's funny, he put that on a rosé, because we used to call rosé blush 10, 20 years ago. This is a dahlia flower, and it is from 80-year-old Valdiguet wines. So to be able to get a rosé for under $30 from California, from 80-year-old vines, that's made in this natural way, is great. Scott, he doesn't call himself a natural winemaker by any stretch of the imagination, because he doesn't want to become part of a trend. But for my definition, he is. He doesn't use temperature control. He's foot trotting. I love Lucy style, a lot of the fruit. Of course, not inoculating like I talked about. And the wines are just very pure. And he's, in order to support two loves, music, and in this case, art, music is art, but visual art, he's foregoing brand recognition in order to support something that he really loves and causes and people that he really believes in. So hats off to Scott. Hopefully in the coming weeks, maybe within the week, we're going to be having an Instagram live chat between Scott and myself, hopefully tasting some of his fun new bottlings. But in the meantime, hats off to Scott. Hats off to the artists that he's elected. They in a really awesome way make us interact with wine in a way that we normally don't. So cheers, Scott. Here's to Henry and Son. Here's to some cool wine.